Manifestation Determination Review, part of the IDEA Accessibility Project, created by Advocates for Justice in Education and funded by the DC Developmental Disabilities Council. Students with disabilities can be suspended from school. Just because a student has an IEP or a 504 does not mean that they are exempt from school discipline procedures. However, when a proposed suspension will last more than 10 days or will total over 10 days of suspension during that school year, a child with a suspected disability, IEP, or 504 is entitled to an MDR, a Manifestation Determination Review. What is an MDR? When a child with a disability, suspected disability, IEP, or 504 gets suspended for more than 10 days, total or over the year, they are entitled to an MDR meeting to review if the behaviors were a manifestation of their disability or not. When does an MDR happen? As soon as the school decides on the suspension, an MDR must be scheduled. The school has 10 days to hold the MDR and decide if the behavior was a result of the child's disability. Parents need to start thinking about MDRs if their student is being suspended or removed from school for more than 10 days. That is either more than 10 days at once or over 10 days in aggregate throughout the school year. If it adds up to 10 before the end of the school year, before the student is removed for the 11th day, they are entitled to a Manifestation Determination Review meeting. What happens at the MDR? The MDR meeting looks like an IEP meeting. You're sitting around the table with the IEP team. You have all of your rights from an IEP meeting. And you can bring an advocate, supporter, or even a friend for you. During the MDR, the school must review the IEP, review all of the child's evaluations, review each of the child's diagnoses and/or disabilities, and how the child's disabilities present and affect their behavior. A social worker or school psychologist can give input into that specific child's manifestation of their disability. The school must review all information relevant to the behavior in the alleged incident that led to the proposed discipline, including any information provided by the parent. Who is at the Manifestation Determination Review meeting? Parents and guardians are essential members of the determination team. You're the expert on your child. Parents also have the option on whether or not to include the student in the MDR meeting itself. However, the parent was likely not there for the incident and doesn't have exact context. Someone needs to describe the incident and review documentation related to it, like a teacher or a representative from the LEA. All relevant members of the IEP team will be present, including any behavioral support specialists. We recommend that as the parent or guardian, you bring someone for support, especially someone who knows how the disability manifests specifically for your child. This can even be a friend or family member. These meetings can be intense and emotional, and you're allowed to lean on your support system. The MDR is not a disciplinary hearing. You're there to answer 2 questions. 1. Is the conduct caused by, or does it have a direct and substantial relationship to the child's disability? Meaning, was it a manifestation of their disability? This is a yes or no question. 2. Did the conduct, incident, or behavior happen because the school didn't implement the student's IEP, or because the student's IEP is not appropriate? For example, the behavior happened after the student did not get the sensory breaks written into their IEP, or the IEP needs to be giving more behavioral support to the student. Let's go through an example. This is Joe. Joe has an IEP for specific learning disability for dyslexia. Joe was suspended for 2 days for throwing books in the classroom. Joe has been suspended twice already this year for a total of 9 days. This 2-day suspension will result in a change of placement, since it would add up to a total of over 10 days of suspension in this school year. Because of this, the school is required to convene the IEP team to conduct an MDR within 10 days of the suspension decision. During the MDR, it's important that everyone focuses on the behavior that occurred and not the intent of the child. Someone may say that Joe knew that throwing books is wrong, so it is not a manifestation of Joe's disability. However, Joe was asked to read in front of the class and got frustrated, so they threw the book. This behavior may have been a manifestation of how Joe's dyslexia impairs their performance. Remember, the MDR is not about determining if the child is guilty. The MDR is held to figure out whether or not the behavior was a manifestation of their disability, so you can know what needs to change to support the child moving forward. Joe may have dyslexia, and the biggest educational impact is on their reading, but Joe also has significant anxiety, and throwing the book was an anxiety-relieving action. This is not saying the behavior is okay, but rather addressing the root cause to prevent future behavior, rather than just giving a punishment. The team must review and consider all of the child's needs, all of their diagnoses, and their individual circumstances. It's important to take a holistic view of the child. The MDR is an opportunity for parents and schools to come together and problem solve, to figure out what is not working for the child. There are many ways to collaborate on this to make sure the educational and behavioral plans are working for everyone. Now, let's talk about the outcome of the MDR. If it is found that the action or behavioral violation is a manifestation of the child's disability, the student must be permitted to immediately return to their regular education setting, as indicated by the most recent IEP, unless the school and parent agree otherwise, as any further discipline is prohibited. In these cases, the school is required by law to either conduct a functional behavior assessment, or FBA, if one has not already been completed, or modify the Behavioral Intervention Plan, or BIP, to make sure the behavior doesn't happen again. If the FBA needs to be done, you can sign the consent to evaluate and begin, or schedule the FBA for another time. Again, if the MDR finds that yes, the behavior was a manifestation of the child's disability, the child cannot be removed from the school. They will not be punished for being a child with a disability. If the student's behavior is found to not be a manifestation of their disability, the regular disciplinary process proceeds from there. Parents can find out more about their school's most up-to-date discipline rules and procedures on the school's website. For DCPS, you can also look in Chapter 25 of the DCMR. For charters, this may be found in the Charter Handbook. There are 3 exceptions to the rules for an MDR. If a child brings a gun to school, if a child brings drugs to school, or if the child actually caused serious injury to another. If any of these happen, you can contact AJE for support. You don't need to know all of this perfectly. Reach out to AJE and other organizations sooner rather than later once you get the MDR request from the school. An MDR is an emotionally difficult time for families, students, and schools. School discipline should be viewed as a red flag that something is not working, and this is an opportunity to collaborate on finding solutions. The over 10 days rule does not limit parents' right to contest or appeal that a proposed discipline in the first 10 days is discriminatory. Parents can still call an IEP meeting to review and discuss that a suspension or other discipline is discriminatory or for another reason. You can email us, call us, visit our website, and continue watching this video series to learn more about your rights as a parent of a child with a disability. The DC Developmental Disabilities Council is supported by the Administration for Community Living, ACL, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, as part of a financial assistance award totaling $527,570 with 100% funding by ACL, HHS. Council efforts are those of the grantee and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor an endorsement, by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.